Dear doctoral students, in this time we have to adapt, and we adapt with our online keynote. I will ask from the graduate school. I'm happy doing that, and it's quite difficult finding a topic who is interesting for all of you, because the technical university is such diverse, and searching for a topic all of your interest must be coming down to the life of a researcher, because that is a path you choose at the moment. And your work is such important. And I want to start with a quote who give us the path for adaptation in these times. The person I want to quote is Mr. Sunstein from an article in the Economic Journal Watch, and the article named with the statements I most regret. A very personal, emotional article. I love it a lot. And I want to quote his last part, and I read it for you. If an academic has said little or nothing that he regrets, there's a real problem. A main job of an academic is to float ideas and take risks. And if they do not make mistakes or learn enough to change their minds, well, that's really something to regret. That means that researchers are really adaptive and have to change all the time. And we are doing that. Every answered research question gives us a new question, a new challenge. Every digital new tool is to integrate to do our job in a better way. But there are also areas where some of the researchers try to avoid. There's value, but they are not such trained in this area. And I want to talk today about one of these areas. So that are the diversity of researchers. So different places where we have to work and bring our value. And that is the pictogram I choose for researcher. That is now the researcher, and I want to talk about this job. And on the other side, I choose another actor. That is media platform, media actor, person who has the job to transport valuable information to the public. And I choose for this pictogram for a media representative. So, and there's value for sure when they will co-create. Researchers are in Germany very often public paid, so they have a public task to transport their findings also to a broader community, and the journalists and media platforms are a tool and a channel to do that. But very often there's a conflict. There's a conflict that researchers try to avoid because the discussion is unusual or not felt such good. And on the other side, also journalists try to avoid that, oh, a researcher, oh, I not understand what he's saying, or it's too complicated bringing really value out of that. And there's a conflict. And why? Why is there a conflict, and how can we solve it? Mr. Derner, a researcher, did great research about why humans fail, and he said one of the reasons why something not work out is a lack of system understanding. And that's what I want to give and hand over to you today in this keynote. I want to give you a motivation and a path to solve this conflict in an easy way, so that you can co-create in future more value in this relationship. So what is the system understanding? A system understanding is we need a dominant value configuration, and we need the personality behind that. Before we come to the researcher, there's basic understanding of value configuration. What is value configuration? And we have here Mr. Porter. He really brings up the value chain. It's a with every step we create new value. Yeah, perhaps that fits, perhaps not. In a time of digitalization, this value configuration very often not works in a strategy way, and that's the reason Stapel and Fieldstead, now on the left side, brings up more and other value configuration, and I show you all three of them. There's the value chain that is very typical for manufacturer, that with every step you have steel and you transfer steel and you color steel and you bring functions to steel, and every step is a value step. But that fits not such good to a researcher. Better for researcher is the value shop. The value shop means that you solve a problem in the highest quality. And a researcher has to answer a question, a research question, in the best way. And that fits quite good and means that there's a quality strategy behind the behavior. And that is quite good. So the researcher normally has a value shop. That means we have proven processes, like here, a deductive process. It looks easy, but in the end, when you're really in that, and if you're teaching that, you're wondering why it's such tough bringing that to students, is in the end, it's more complex. So that is one kind of research, of deductive research style. It's a research map, and it shows how many relationships you have there, how many decisions you have to make, far over 100, and there's no right or wrong decision. It's just, I hope that this decision leads to the highest quality of answering my research question. That shows a bit the complexity a researcher has to walk through. That means that he's more problem solver. So he searched for highest quality in problem solving, having a tough process he has to work through and look in every detail. And yeah, that seems to be the dominant value configuration of a scientist. So, but now the media part, how they create value. When we look back to the configurations, then we see a third one, it's the value network. And value network means that you create value through linking actors, and that fits quite well to a media representative. So he's interested in integration. He wants to integrate content and actors and infrastructure, and that fits quite well to be the dominant value configuration of a journalist or a media representative. That means the value net is quite good. He tries to integrate actors for value, and he focuses on news factors. That is quite something like a checklist to detect which information or which content has the highest and best value for my readers or my spectators. And I'm not focused on the detail. You see, it's more about a story. It's more about what comes out. It's a broader perspective, and it's not necessary to look such into the detail. And when we look to this relationship where perhaps we can create value, you see there's quite a diver in the system. We have a value shop where we have very perfectionism, don't make mistakes. We have plenty of rounds of quality checks, and you're such focused in the process that everything runs well. That means from the personality side that you're a perfectionism. Very often researchers are introverted and focused and concentrated on the perfectionism. On the other side, the media guy, and this one is searching for networks, for integration. He's communicative. He's not such perfect in his style. He's more in seeking and developing and detecting. And he has quite a short checklist. It's called the news factors or news values. So that means who should adapt in this system? So what is effective? So when the journalist or the media guy want to learn and adapt to the scientists, he's a specialist, an expert, has a cutting edge knowledge, then it's quite difficult because he has to learn for years. He has to learn for years to understand the theoretical models. When he's a non-academic, perhaps he not really understand the empiric process and the quality behind and the problems and the limitations. He not really got that. And that is something who's quite difficult to learn. And I think he has to invest a lot of time. On the other side, a scientist, he has to adapt to understand what is a story of his research and how news values and news factors, how a checklist work. And that is a start of motivation and 1 to 2 days. That's it, to understand that. So you see, when the scientists adapt, it's quite more effective. What is the adaptation he has to do? A scientist is focused on the process, his measurement instrument, the calculation, the design, the experiment. He's focused on that. And when he goes to a conference or he write an article, 90% is just talking about that, what happened there in the middle, about the empiric, about models, about theories. A network seeker for stories search by the goals. He searches in the beginning, in the curiosity. He likes to talk about the curiosity behind. He wants to talk about, wow, the future, what happened then? What is the vision behind that? And he's focused and seeking information about the research, his team, his lab, what happened there. So total different areas. He's not interested in that. So that means that a researcher has to adapt to prepare these parts in a better way, because normally he's just prepared in the middle part. He wants to talk about the red circle, and the journalist is not detecting value there. And that means that we scientists has to focus more in the curiosity and the vision and in the research environment and the persons who are doing that. And that's something what is just a job to do, and it's easy to learn. So the checklist of a journalist, these news values, we have to develop them. That means we have, there are different ones. Here's a 7-step value. On the other side, there are a few more. I would say we have around about 20 different news values, and you just create or work out the values who are possible in your research. So there are questions like how often it happened. When there's a high frequency in your research, then it's interesting for him. When it has a closeness, for example, is it close to all of us? So if you're a researcher with virus, then I think now you're close to all of us. Before COVID, I think just a few are thinking about that. Then it's about, are there actors who are prominent? If you have if you're making a PhD in medicine and you have a disease, then the news factor of perhaps I can help humans with this disease, and the disease just, I don't know, a few person have this disease, there's no news value. But when George Clooney has this disease, then you have her news value. And we have to think in this way, because that's the checklist where researchers are searching. And none of this question and news factors is answered with process, with measurement instruments, with content analysis, with models. They not find these new values there. Second, here's a research about what is important for journalists when they work with these news values. And you see the top 5 are, they search for pictures, for visualization. They want to have something emotional. They want to have making of pictures. And they are searching for prominence, who's connected to that. We have to create that because normally we haven't got that. That it works and that it is important for the university shows the publication of the technical university. Fascination Research, Faszination Forschung. There's a publication from the TU, and you'll see that they try to organize that complicate, high quality research is communicative, and you transform it that a public and a broad community understand what happened there. And when you look into that, that is one article about what the virus really needs, and you'll see it's such less text. The text is super easy written. You have all these pictures making of a person who's pulling something out of a machine. You have some pictures you not really understand, but that is entertainment. That is a communication where a broad community can enter to your research. You have numbers, huge and small, surprising numbers who are interesting. And you see the professor in his situation, and you have a face for that. And that is something what every researcher can do. He can transform his research, what is normally written in a paper style. So you have an article of 10 pages and you have a 15-minute conference speech. That is something where you describe your 90% of your process. And here you pick up the news values and make it very visual with a good storyline. For that, there are tools. Here, for example, that's a transformation canvas where you can transform your research shop value to a media net value. That is something in one day you can transform it, and then you are prepared for all media situation to talk about that, what is interesting for a broader community. It's not necessary to be afraid for a question, what can the journalist ask, or how can he turn it into a difficult way. No, you write and talk with about the right things. So it looks easy. It is easy. It's a short time invest. Remember Mr. Sunstein? Change your mind, because when you do this work, you get a new perspective on your own research. When you start thinking about jokes in the lab, about making of situations, and that brings up a total new perspective for your research. And if you're successful, it feels great. Be sure it is 1 or 2 days who are really valuable, and after that you can co-create a better value out of the relationship to media platforms. And that is one of our jobs as a researcher, that all we find, all the important things we are doing has to be public, transported, communicated to a broader community. And that's something what feels great if you're doing that. I wish you all the best with that, and hope seeing you soon in Reitenhaslach again in live. Good time. Bye-bye.